say hello to everybody. I want to welcome you to the 2022 annual meeting for Journeys. I just also want to say it's the first time we've met together, public, in one place, not online, since 2019. So it is exciting. All right, Paul, you're up.
The slide with the 2021-2022 financials is up there. So I'd like to kind of walk through a couple of the items up there. All in all, it was a very good year. If you look to the right on the expenses, roughly 80 cents on every dollar that we take in goes to programming, goes to help the homeless in our community. The other roughly 20 cents goes for fundraising and for administration. On the left-hand side, you'll see that the income is very big. The big blue bar on the left-hand side, almost 40% of that was for COVID. We've been putting roughly 100 people a night for the last, almost the entire time we've been in the pandemic, in hotel rooms throughout the Northwest suburban community. And that's that expense. That's the income that's necessary for that. We've primarily been able to gather that from governmental agencies. Most everything else from individuals, foundations, corporations, faith communities, United Way. We've made a broad-based effort to try to work with corporations and the larger business community to support the efforts we've had here. In fiscal year just ended, the income was roughly $2,360,000. The expense was roughly $2,016,000. So when I said all in all a good year, from where I'm sitting as a treasurer, when your assets come in about $300,000 or more than your expenses, that's saying something. That's saying that the grant writers for our organization, the people that are running events, Beth and the whole team has really worked hard to bring in the income necessary to meet the expenses that we're incurring. What we've been trying to do as an organization is to keep a little bit ahead of the curve here, and we maintain typically a balance sheet where we're sitting on a surplus of 3 to 6 months of assets over our annual expense. And we ended the year probably about 4 to 5 months of assets ahead of our expense on that balance sheet. So that was a good spot to be. And I think historically, looking at where we're sitting in today, looking at the economic challenges facing us, looking at opening up a new building, that's really where that's a good spot to be, and something that we should continue to try to strive to keep ahead of.
All right, so now board presidents, my president's report to membership. Well, it's been a good run. I usually stand up here, talk about data, but that's in the report. I will talk about what has happened last year, but that's also in the reports. Talk about the New Hope Center, but Beth will talk a lot about that. So what do I say? What have I taken away from my experiences and pass on to you? What are some moments that I wish I could change? Beth one time told me that people view homelessness as ugly. Talking from experience, that is true. Before my experiences with PADS and Journeys, I was that person. And by the way, it took me 6-8 years to finally figure out what PAD stands for: providing advocacy, decency, and shelter. I need to say it all the time, so I'll forget. I did not see a fellow human, one who just needs a little hope, a little help. I saw someone who just gave up and did not deserve my time or money. I once told a homeless man to get an effing job. Now, how I wish I could go back and say, I don't have a lot of money to give you, but what else can I do to help? My perspective is different. I see potential. I see someone who can be just like one of us. They just need our support. My wife, who is amazing, lives by the golden rule. Treat others as one wants to be treated, with respect, with love, with decency. This simple rule is so powerful. To treat others like you want to be treated. How difficult is that? It isn't. Yet prior to Journeys, I did not follow that rule when it came to the homeless. Thank you, Journeys, for this change. And thank you, Susie, for constantly reminding me of that golden rule. When you have an opportunity, talk to someone who's homeless. Find out more about them. Share stories. You'll soon realize that there is more in common than differences. I used to sit in pads during dinner time and just have conversations. The stories I heard were pretty amazing. There was this one old timer who just talked and talked and talked. Incredible stories. Can't remember his name, but I told him, you need to put that in a book. On top of that, once we finished talking, he actually thanked me for letting him talk to me. And I turned around and said, I'm the one who should be thanking you for sharing what you shared. Thank you, Journeys, and thank PADS program for giving me that opportunity. In conclusion, I told you it's going to be short. Everything I would have said, in addition to what I did say, I put in this report. So there is a long statement that I put in there. It's not about me, it's all about you. I'm just the guy who stands up here and talks like I know what I'm talking about. You make this happen, you make this work, you give hope. Finally, thank you all once again, and a huge special thank you to my wife, Susie, who has supported me all these years, supported me in all our events, all our meetings, picked up and dropped off things when I could not, et cetera, et cetera. This is endless. Thank you. You're the best.
All right, can everybody hear me in the back? Okay, first, before Fernando walks away too far here, I want to share a few things about Fernando. First off, is his name. Is there any more exotic or alluring name than Fernando? And this is a known fact. The whole reason Beth brought him onto the board in the first place was because of his name, Fernando. But in all seriousness, Fernando has been on the board for 8 years. 6 of those as president. And oh, by the way, the last 2 of those years were in the midst of COVID, a major pandemic, as well as trying to raise $7 million to build a new building behind the Hope Center. So Fernando, thank you for your leadership and your efforts. And as Fernando alluded to, behind every good man is a good woman, and behind every good woman is a good man. So Susie, you know, the missed dinners, the missed soccer practices, you know, for Nicholas and everything that you had to cover for. Thank you for your efforts and your sacrifice. You know, Fernando is active as well at his church, in the First Presbyterian Church. And of course, he's a big-time bigwig at Abbott Laboratories. So he's a man of many facets. That being said, we would like to present something to Fernando for his efforts. We'll have to get a better look at it in the light here, but we have a plaque.
So this is the artistic capabilities of our development. This represents all of Fernando's effort. This is his dream. He came to me at the beginning of our last strategic plan and said, how about that year-round shelter? So he has orchestrated his efforts and his energy to rally his faith, congregation, group, friends, volunteers from the church of which has stood by us forever, First Presbyterian in Arlington Heights. He rallied friends to come to the table. His wife has been mentioned a few times here tonight. She has been quite a friend of the agency as a duo. This is for you, Fernando, because I want you to always remember that not only did you change Journey's heart and soul by being our leader, you actually changed where we get to operate. So I really appreciate having you as my leader, as my friend. I'm so glad you're staying on the board. I was whispering to Susie. I said, if I could have taken him for another decade. But when Fernando said he was going to step down and it's his time, I said, please don't leave the board. He goes, oh, I'm not leaving the board. So he's remaining on as a director, which is sometimes unheard of when a president steps down. But he's handing this over to a very, very, very well-equipped gentleman, Tony, who has been on our board for not a very long time to take on this relationship and come on to lead us, but he's equipped to do so. So we had a gentleman from Abbott leading us, and now we're working to a gentleman who focuses on emergency preparedness, which could not be a better fit for when we are walking into doing our year-round building and helping our community with emergencies. So with that, I thank both gentlemen. I thank my past leader and my future leader. Oh, and here is your new president intake. That's development department again. See how good they are? So I'm gonna hand this over. I'm very wordy. I'm not supposed to have a big role tonight, but Tony let me come up and thank Fernando as well, so.
In addition to the plaque, although some of the board members might not be aware that we are going to be dedicating a brick in your honor in the new paver walk.
Thank you.
Honoring you and your family's sacrifices to Journey. Thank you. That being said, I'm very humbled and honored to be here, and I feel the responsibility of it, not in a negative way, but in an exciting way. When we look forward here the next 12 months, it's probably going to be some of the most challenging times that Journeys is going to face. Reason being is, one, we still have a building that's under construction. Two, once it's finished, we have to move our entire operations from the old building into the new. And then we need to establish policies and procedures for working in the new building. So that's going to present some significant challenges. And oh yes, there is still a pandemic going on. We have record inflation. Interest rates are rising, and the chances of people becoming homeless are greater than they have been in some time. So we definitely have our work cut out for us. As far as myself, like Beth mentioned, my name is Tony Butler, and I grew up in this area. I grew up in Arlington Heights, and I know the northwest suburbs. I currently live in St. Charles, but my heart still belongs in the northwest suburbs. And in my work life, I work as a regional emergency preparedness manager for Advent Health. I have 3 kids at home that keep me busy. And kind of what brought me to Journey is I'll share a couple of quick stories, because one thing as a board I really want to focus on the upcoming year is why. Why are we here? Why are we doing the things we're doing? I know what we do. If we read the Journey's mission statement, we provide services to the homeless and those near homeless, but why? I know how we do it with Beth and her excellent team, provide social services, caseworkers, facility managers who assist these people. But the question is why? For me, it started while I was a firefighter paramedic with the Hoffman Estates Fire Department. I responded to an EMS call in the Super 8 motel. When I walked in, the entire room was filled from floor to ceiling with boxes, someone's personal belongings. Inside that 2-bedroom hotel room was a family of 4 and 2 dogs living. The kids were doing their homework at the little side table. Okay? That's not okay. That's not okay. Also had a homeless gentleman who lived in town who was also an alcoholic. One night in a 24-hour shift, we picked him up 4 times and transported him to the hospital. 4 times in 24 hours. A couple weeks after that incident, word got out that he had passed away. He was in his 40s. I can't tell you how many times we cursed him at 2 in the morning. How many times we felt frustrated going out to help him. Those things are not okay. We can do better, and we're going to do better. And the old adage I think of is, the old fable of the old man and the young boy walking on the seashore. And as the tide rolls out, there's thousands of sea stars on the beach who are dying in the hot sun. And the young boy picks one up and throws it into the water. He picks up a second one, throws it into the water. And on the third one, is the old man says, "Why are you doing that? You couldn't possibly help all these starfish." He said, "No, but I just helped that one." And that's what we do here at Journeys. It's one case at a time, one client at a time. That's how you take care of the elephant. At this time, I will be followed by Beth Neighbors, our executive director.
So I'm going to just give you a little update on our building for hope, and that is the building that we are currently under construction in the back of our current facility. This is how our building will look once it is done. We've talked about this building, why is it important? We listened to our PADS partners, and our PADS partners said to us, we don't like the fact that there's some people in the population we can't serve. There are people out there who we can't welcome into the PADS program because of problematic behaviors or situations that have happened with them legally. And our board listened, and we designed for that. We designed for that overflow population so that everyone in the Northwest suburbs would be able to be served with emergency shelter if necessary. Then we also listened to our community and found out that through partnership with our affiliated nonprofit, Pathway Development Institute, which our president's sitting right there, for that organization, we weren't doing enough with affordable housing. We had 2 affordable housing buildings, but it wasn't enough. And so we decided we could supplement at this building as well, the 7 affordable housing units. So we have 42 shelter beds, 7 affordable housing units, and our entire Hope Center and clinical staff and development staff, administrative staff are all on the first floor for expanded facilities. So it's really exciting. We are almost there. So every day we talk about the fact that we get excited about looking out into the back. They already have walls up, the windows are up, the doors up. We talked about before with people how we are going to have to slowly phase in. We will right away have the Hope Center up and operating once that building's going to be moved in. But we have to onboard volunteers for the